Okay, ladies and gentlemen, well, welcome to Haddenham. Time for the highlight of our Sunday afternoon, the grand parade of steam engines and models. Hope you've all been enjoying yourselves. Hope you've been managing to dodge the showers. Someone said to me earlier, oh, it's raining, and I said that won't put people off in Haddenham, so that won't offend people who made us sterner stuff than that. Anyway, the first of our steam engines into the arena is the Duke of Kent. It was the first engine into the arena yesterday as well. So if you watched it yesterday, you probably heard all about it. Anyway, this is a Burrell. Burrell engines were built in Thetford in Norfolk, considered by some to be the Rolls-Royce of steam engines. Not necessarily by me, but never mind. This is a road locomotive. It spent its working life in Kent, hence the name, Duke of Kent, sawing and hauling wood.
Hang on a minute.
Oh.
The chairman's not been declared this rally open.
Ah.
Since me and you spend most of the time in here, shall we do it together?
Well, we could, couldn't we?
Yeah. Shall we declare the 2024 rally open?
I think we should, yes.
Yes, we'll declare the rally open.
That's it, we're going to start with the grand parade. So the rally is now open.
Yeah.
Kelvin will come and shut it at the end of the parade, perhaps.
I don't think so.
No, he didn't come down here last year either.
No, well, as long as we spend the most time in here, we've declared it open.
Well, that's right.
Cheers, Michael.
They might have realised by now they've been sat here all day, some of them.
That's right.
Right, So, the Duke of Kent, owned by Lord Irving Laidlaw, in the capable hands of Jeff Scott Coomer, driven here under its own steam from the Wisbech area, and a road engine built for the transport of heavy loads and goods. So compared to your ordinary traction engine, it's fitted with rubber tyres, 3-speed gearing, belly tanks for travelling further distances between water stops. This is followed by Mr. Bush with his shiny showman style Fowler. This is known as Rosemary, named after his good lady. He has built this engine pretty much himself, starting with an ex-Scottish Fowler roller. And beautiful engineering has gone into this engine, and it's always presented in first-class condition. So lovely to see it here. I've stopped advertising it for sale now because Steve's found a cheap source of brasso and somebody to hopefully polish the brass for him. And he's took the cling film off today, so that's a vote of confidence in the weather. Another one of our Fowler engines now. This one is Monty, and Monty belongs to Mr. Blaker. And it's a first timer here at Haddenham, agricultural engine, worked on an estate in Hampshire. Compound engine, most Freshen engines, single cylinder, used the steam once, exhausted up the chimney. Compound engines such as this, more economical, they use the steam twice, first in a high pressure cylinder, then in a low pressure cylinder, before exhausting it up the chimney. So that's Monty. This is followed by the Muddler. The Rolls-Royce of all engines, and I don't care what Burrell owners think when I say it, the Rustons. And actually, local connection, Joseph Ruston was born in Chatteris, just up the road. And his father was something of a fire and brimstone preacher, and it was assumed that Joseph would follow in his father's footsteps, but he had other ideas. And he took an apprenticeship in Steffield, and then went and joined up with Burton and Proctor of Lincoln, and they went from being a sort of one-shed blacksmithing operation to one of the largest engineering works in the country. This engine spent its working life in Lincolnshire. For many years, its early preservation owner was Peter Wright from Market Deeping, and the engine was a regular here at Haddenham in his ownership. Now belongs to Mr. Thomas Baines from Bardney, but he does like to get out of Bardney to places where the sun occasionally shines, and it's lovely to see it here. Now it's an agricultural engine, single cylinder, 8 horsepower, so a large engine compared to your average thrashing engine, but the original owner, a man who rejoiced in the name of Uriah Spratt, as seen on the side of the cab, he spec'd the engine that it had to be capable of some light haulage, hence it's fitted with the belly tank and the half cab. Another familiar engine from the past now, this is the Fowler roller Jenny, a regular here in the 80s and 90s. She was owned for a number of years by Keith Honor from Stansted, and then by the Colbin brothers from Great Chesterford, whose name the roller still bears on the side. Worked in Oxfordshire, this engine. The BW registration is a giveaway of that. After a few more owners, it's nice to see it now here back at Haddenham, and being steered today by Laurie Spry with his beard. Well, he's not steering it with his beard, but he has got it with him. And that's a lovely little roller. Sorry?
Owned by Stephen.
And that's owned by Stephen. So congratulations, you got yourself a lovely roller there. I nearly crashed it once. I had a drive on it, and when I wanted to stop, I grabbed hold of the regulator and pulled it shut. But it goes the wrong way. Now, a man told me actually that's the right way for a regulator to go. I said, so when you get in your car, the throttle pedal's on the floor and you pull it up to go faster. He hadn't got an answer for that. The next one, John O'Gaunt, another one of our Burrell Road engines. This one spent its working life in Norfolk. In early preservation, it lived at Chatteris with the Deemer family, purchased in 1971 by the Newton family from Hungerford, who own it still, but it's on an extended East Anglian holiday, steered today by Ben Easton, driven by the lovely Adam Gerald. Do give Adam a wave as he comes around the arena. He's only in it for the adulation, ladies and gentlemen. Now, on the side of the engine, you'll see there's a coiled up hose. That is a water lifter pipe. You could drop that into a roadside stream or a ditch and use it to fill your water tanks with water. So every 25 or so miles, you'd be looking for extra water to keep you on the move. Number 19 is the Duchess. Single crank compound Burrell engine, this one. It was a patent idea by Burrells. We've had the double crank compound, the Fowler and the Duke of Kent. This is a single crank compound, so it's got a single crank on the crankshaft, but two, you can see at the front diagonally, two pistons. That made a slightly more economical engine, but with greater simplicity to suit the greater simplicity of the average Burrell driver. And this engine spent its entire working life in Norfolk before passing to C.A. Haylock of Castle Camps. Driven as ever by the engine's custodian, Mr. Phil Starling, and it is steered by Radar, whose ears are so big he doesn't need a telephone. Another one of our single crank compound engines now, and this is an interesting one because it's a crane engine. Lord Derby was new to S.J. Rossbottom in Cheshire, and it hauled shale and sand. But it's fitted with the crane off of the Burrell Works engine. Now, the Burrell Works engine was called Emperor. It was owned in this area for a number of years by the late Tom Paisley. When it was sold in his sale, it was reverted to a showman's engine as it had been originally, but Richard Parrott had the foresight to get the crane and buy a suitable engine to fit it to, so that the Burrell Works crane, an important engine for everybody that likes Burrells, could be seen out and about again. Driven today by Kate Plant, who is of course the coordinator of the Wheating Rally, a good day out in July, and also the future chairman of the East Anglian Traction Engine Society. Good luck. And another TB registered engine now, another Lancashire engine. This is Jeanette, owned by Roger Adams, driven by Sam Ellerton, and Isaac Bull was the firm this roller worked for. And they had a large fleet of Burrell engines, and they pretty much all had the long cab and the large toolbox or wine cabinet on the back of the cab. So an interesting roller, that one. An early Aveling roller now. This one's owned by Matt Garwood. It's a roller that's travelled here under its own steam. Aveling rollers all have a horse on the front. If you want to know why, you'll have to ask me after the parade. But this one spent some of its working life and much of early preservation in Kent. Been owned by Matt for a number of years now and travels to most events under its own steam. So lovely early Fowler roller there. Okay, now we've got one of our road locomotives. This one is the Fowler Sir Douglas. And Sir Douglas had a number of working owners and ended up in the famous collection of Chris Lambert in Kent, and it attended the first East Anglian Traction Engine Club rally at Sailing in 1955. subsequently passed to the Filk family and owned by them for many years, restored, put back in steam, now owned by the Friends of Sir Douglas, and I see it's driven today by Matt Garwood and steered by John Garwood. So John gave up driving full-size engines, but they don't seem to have let him stick to it. He's got to keep his hand in. He came and had a look at the centre engine on the Gallopers earlier, and I don't know what he did, but then the injector packed up, so he went away then. That's working again now. Like I said, a road engine built for transport of heavy loads. So you can see about another engine fitted with belly tanks. And interestingly on that, on your side, there's a little steam generator there you can use to run electric headlights and road lighting. Okay, now we have the Garrett tractor, Felix, otherwise known as Princess Royal, owned by Charles Saunders, who is supervising the coal bunker today. An engine that travelled here under its own steam from the Huntingdon area. It had 2 or 3 working owners, including Thurston's the showground firm, which you'll see is why it's carrying the twisted brass cab uprights. Charles and friends have spent many years doing this engine up. I can remember it many years ago when it was green, coming to all our road runs and do's, and it's actually painted to match a working day's photo of the engine, so it's as near to its working appearance as you could possibly get. So a lovely little engine there. Steam tractor is not an agricultural machine, it's a light haulage engine. If you like, it's the small brother of the road locomotive. Another Aveling here now with a horse on the front, and this is Jimmy. Jimmy is also an engine that was owned by Chris Lambert, so we've got 2 of them here this weekend, owned by Andrew Gokes, and he and his family have done much work on it over the years, boiler work and mechanical work and all the rest of it. So that's the Aveling Jimmy. Another one of our single crank compound barrels now, this is Sir Gordon. And Sir Gordon spent its working life in Surrey and Sussex, ending up with the Lugg family of Billingshurst. It was damaged by a bomb strike during World War II, where after it was stood up, the late John Bush purchased the engine for restoration, but sadly John passed away before he could see it finished. Purchased by the Easton family in Norwich in 2018, 2019 was its first season on the rally field. Driven today by Mr. Scott Bunting and steered by my father, who's actually a founding member of the committee of this rally. He likes to be reminding people of that because it tells people how old he is. So father's steering the engine today. He's waiting for his one to come back from repairs. So another one of our single crank compound barrels. This is followed by Keith and Liz Grimsey with their barrel roller. And this one worked for Doran Brothers in Thetford. It's been in Norfolk all its life. Unsurprisingly for a rolling contractors based in Norfolk, they used barrel products, and a number of them still survive, including this one. And I always remember this engine as being the one that ran over Hareflick's staff car in a lower load, and Hareflick said that it was very serious because the Gestapo was only insured third party. An interesting point on this roller, if you look down by the rear wheel on your side, you see the windy wheel there and that apparatus, that's a scarifier. You can use that to pull up the road surface, and in the days before tarmac, that was an important part of the process when you were making a road. First of our steam wagons now from the Saunders collection, driven by Mr. Chris Way, is Boadicea. Foden wagon fitted with solid rubber tyres, full runner of a modern lorry. The vast majority of steam wagons are either over-tight, like this, with the engine on top of the boiler, and then you can see the chain drive down to the rear axle, or they're under-tight. If Melvin gets in later, I'll explain to you about under-tights. Anyway, that's the Foden over-tight wagon. That was new to May Gurney, and it ended up, it passed through George Cushing's hands to Alan Bloom and spent many years at the Bressingham Museum. This is followed by Mr. David Gokes with his very dark green Aveling roller known as Rupert. I understand that David's been busy knocking the stays over on the Ruston, so I hope his ears will stop ringing now. And he'll fill it up with water soon, and I'll stand under it and have a shower perhaps. I never see one yet that's dry when you first fill it up, so that'll be interesting. Anyway, David's been working hard on our boiler and various others. So, of course, when you work with steam engines all week, what do you do on your day off? You go to a steam rally and play with steam engines. It's more than a hobby, it's a way of life. Now we've got Mr. David Chilvers with his steam roller, his first engine on his own. He's been rallying for many years, but this is his first season with his own roller. It worked for Samuel Jackson, and he's bought the roller I think last year or the year before, towing a living van built by the same firm. You can see on the front there, S. Jackson and Sons of West Aston in Crewe, and the living van's owned by the Marchington family. There's a perfect match. Can you get it on the lorry? You can take it back to Ipswich with him. Now, of course, the living van was an important part of the steam roller. If you weren't the council driver, if you were on contract, you might be away for a week at a time with a roller. You'd live in the living van during the week and perhaps only get to cycle, or if you were really lucky, if you had a motorbike, you could go home at the weekends. This is followed by Emily and Jamie Jennings with the Aveling tractor Clementine. So you'll remember I said tractors, steam tractors, not an agriculture machine, a haulage engine. They've proven the point by driving it here this weekend under its own steam, towing a living van. It worked for Herefordshire County Council. It was known in the area in the ownership of Stuart Gray for a good while. Had a year or two off the circuit. I know they've retubed it, put a new hydraulic on it, and are having a fun season driving it around the country. This is their first season with it, so very nice to see it here at Haddenham. Number 20 then is Britannia, another one of our barrels. Agricultural engine, this one with slight refinements. It's sprung on the rear end, fitted with a solid flywheel. It's also been fitted with a third speed now. Travels to many events under its own steam all over East Anglia. There's another engine that Mr. Goats has carried out boiler work on. I think it went in just ahead of ours, and driven by John Wallace and Alan Richards. Now, I asked Alan earlier whether he remembered a few years ago at Dorset when we got a bit lost and I got very, very drunk. Obviously I was a lot younger then, and depressingly I think it was about 20 years ago. But that one's owned by Joe Wallace and finished in Burrell Green with chocolate wheels. Now that's followed by another of their Aveling tractors, first time here at Strumpshaw, the Duke of Norfolk, with Richie Hannon. He works for TNS. I went up there today and tried to get a warranty claim on my Ruston. They weren't having any of it. I give him the bill of sale. He said, however old is that? I said, well, that's 1914. That one was built for Martley Council and delivered with 2 trailers. They were the sort of equivalent of the transit truck, but owned by local authorities for transporting road making materials and other things. Now we have the Highlander, Fowler roller, another one similar to David's one. This one worked in Scotland. You can see by the amount of brass work and shiny bits. The Scottish drivers really did embellish their rollers. The Higginses have owned it for a number of years now. Carried out boiler work on it and other things, and lovely to see it here at Haddenham. It's been a regular these last few years. This is followed by the Foden Wagon Santa Maria from Strumpshaw in Norfolk, from the Strumpshaw Museum. If you're looking for a good day out between Norwich and Yarmouth, there's a good collection of engines at Strumpshaw, driven as ever by Pip Parker, who's been looking after it probably for more years than he cares to sit and work out. It joined the Strumpshaw collection in 1968. It's been a regular here at Haddenham until Jimmy Key passed away in 2006, so it's lovely to see it back here. Another old barrel now, safety valves just feathering, so maybe finally Matt has mastered the art of making a fire. This is Century. Century has the distinction of being the oldest barrel traction engine in existence. Spent its entire working life within a day's steaming of Thetford, probably because with a driver like Matt that's as far as it could get. Anyway, it's owned by Richard Parrott, a Wheating Rally fame. And interestingly on that engine, if you look down under the nameplate, you see those angled pieces of metal there. They are spuds. or clips or cleats, depending where you're from. They fit onto the back wheels. They pin on with the holes you can see in the back wheels to allow you to get grip in soggy conditions. Driven by Matthew and steered by young Edward. Now a Fowler Agricultural, possibly one of the earliest engines bought purely for preservation, bought by Ollie Taylor, the present owner's grandfather, in 1947 from Harris's scrapyard in Saffron Walden. Reputedly the only engine to leave Harris's in one piece. The distinctive green wheel spokes were an idea of Oliver's. He painted them like that, they've been like that ever since. All our local steam-ups, David and Tom bring Ada along, and it's always Ada that gets in the local paper because it's Ada is the one that the press photographers remember. Okay, now a test. Who was paying attention when I talked about steam wagons earlier? Over-type wagons. This is an under-type wagon. So why do you suppose this is an under-type wagon? Because the engine's under the floor. You've got a vertical boiler in the cab, just like the hot water cylinder in the airing cupboard at home, and then the engine is down under the chassis. Again, chain drive to the rear axle. This is a tipper wagon. The wagon will tip to either side or to the rear. Owned by Mr. Melvin Camps, who's driving today. Fired by Darren Swain, who I think might be asleep. Mel said he had a lovely trip over with this all the way from Wimbish. He said it went like hell all the way to Cottenham, and then after that nothing would work at all. Spent a long while on the Isle of Wight working, and an interesting job they used to do. They used to take the buck off the back and use it to transport railway carriage bodies. And Mel's got a history board all about that down on his peg, so do go down and have a look. This is followed by the Overtype Wagon Tiny, built by Foden's, another one, so similar to the one Chris Way brought in a little while ago. This one is fitted with pump-up tyres, so it's a deluxe model, travels to all events under its own steam, owned by Nicola and Andrew Caldo. So lovely wagon, that one, and you can see just the same as the others, big bicycle chain down to the rear axle, and capable of a decent speed on the road, that one, so a really nice thing to get you around the shows. Okay, now another one of our Aveling rollers. This is a little one, 6-tonner. Rollers tend to be designated by weight rather than horsepower. You know, when you get a traction engine, you'll say, oh, that's a 7-horse engine, that's a 6-horse engine. When you get a roller, you say, oh, it's a 6-ton or an 8-ton. Depending on the customer, they might get the same roller with a different weight plate screwed to it. This one worked for Tipton Urban District Council, now owned by Mr. Nicholas Allen, who is at the levers today, and another engine that travels under its own steam. The other Aveling from the Allen stable is William. Nice local engine, this one, worked for Cambridge Corporation. 10-ton roller, fitted with a scarifier. Aveling's built more steam rollers than all other manufacturers put together, and it was not unusual for a local authority to buy them in batches of 10 or a dozen. So this one worked in Cambridge. You can tell the registration number with the CE prefix, that is a Cambridgeshire registration. So most of these engines you'll see with the number plates in the format they are, the first two letters are where they work. So the two TB engines here were Lancashire, and VF and AH were both Norfolk, BW was Oxfordshire, and so on. I don't know all this off by heart, I look it up on Wikipedia. Okay, number 39 is another 6-ton Aveling roller. This is Gentle Annie. She was new to Stanley North in Middlesex, and Ben Taylor was looking for a smaller roller because more and more roads were being done with tarmac rather than hardcore, and this was advertised for sale in the Machinery Mart magazine. In 1968 he sold her to Roy Swain, the current owner's late father, and he told him, if she makes you half the money she's made me, you'll be a millionaire. Every time Michael Swain comes around the ring with it, I ask him where the £1 million is, but he doesn't know. But never mind, lovely 6-ton Aveling roller there, single cylinder piston valve. This is followed by Gavin Needham's unique, and it is unique, it's a Bedford 3-ton steam wagon. It's on a Bedford chassis with a locomotive type boiler with the engine on top, so that's an Overtype wagon. Nice to see it here. It's not a prototypical engine, but interesting nonetheless. Now we have Mr. and Mrs. Holman. I'll call them that because it's Sunday, so I'll keep my manners on, you see. Three-speed Foster, this one. There's only 4 3-speed Foster tractors in existence, and we've got half of them here at Haddenham this weekend. Had a full restoration. Years ago, that used to come to Haddenham in showman's guise as it had worked for one of its owners, but it's been returned to original condition, even down to having the mud guards over the front and rear wheels. Capable of really good speed on the road, these little Foster engines, and very pleasing to look at as well. So Garth and Evelyn have been supporting us here at Haddenham for many, many years, and long may they continue. This is followed by the half-size Foden wagon Ajax, owned by Mr. Tom Gokes, another Gokes from March. There's nothing left in their yard, I think that's all here. And he's got a good cargo on the back of many small children. Now, I used to be a grubby little child on the back of an engine at a rally, and I don't really want to think about how long ago it was. Now we've got the Marshall traction engine, built in Gainsborough, owned by the Eagle family. And lots of us remember Ernie Eagle attending rallies throughout the region, and his engine was always immaculately presented. One year when we'd repainted our Ruston at Weeding, we were given the cleanest engine cup, and the joke went round that Ernie would have to unscrew it from his footboard, but he did give it to us and he shook our hand. And the following year, of course, he had the bugger back. Engine's been off the road for a rebuild and a repaint, looking absolutely stunning. It was lovely to see it back here at Haddenham last year, and since poor old Ernie passed away, that's lovely to see the family carrying on the proud tradition. It's an engine that worked for a Fresh and Good tractor in Witney originally, and then went to John Allen and Sons of Oxford. Been in preservation in our area for many years now, and like in absolute tip-top condition. That's driven today by Andrew and Tom Eagle. This is followed by Barry Freeman, another regular here at Haddenham. In fact, I believe Barry attended the first rally in 1971. He's driving his son Jeremy's 7 horsepower single cylinder Burrell. This one's known as a Rosebery. It's an engine that worked commercially for Barry's family. They ended up parked up in the yard, and he said, well, they either had to do them up or cut them up or get rid of them. But luckily they did them up. Always presented in lovely condition, an engine capable of a good day's work still. And lovely to see it here. He's got another barrel as well, a compound agricultural, and he tends to alternate, so we have a different lineup every year, which is what we like. Now we've got a few of our miniature engines coming in, all in among the big ones. That's all right, that just makes life more interesting for me. And leading the miniature parade is Ben Harvey with his Burrell traction engine, and he's fitted that with a solid flywheel. And that's in 4-inch scale, so in a 3-inch scale Foster. Or is that pushing you? You don't know. Well, don't ask the driver any questions, you don't know the answers. I'm going to go and have a drink for a minute. Okay, that's followed by Carl Harvey with his single crank compound Burrell George. The road engine, that one fitted with motion covers and belly tanks. And that's followed by Mr. Steve Clark. I won't have to look him up in the programme, I know who he is. Those of you who come to Strumpshaw will recognise Steve as the smiling face who greets you at the exhibitor's gate. Unless you haven't got your passes, then he doesn't greet you with a smiling face at all. And that's his Garrett engine that he purchased and has repainted and overhauled. Followed by Janet and Mike Turner with their Burrell Road engine Sid. Nice engine this one, finished in green with red wheels, and I believe modelled on the President. I think all those models are, so nice single drive 4-inch Burrell Road logo. This is followed by Mr. Stephen Blanche wearing his Clayton and Shuttleworth branded shirt, but he hasn't brought the Clayton and Shuttleworth engine. It's his good lady Vicky's engine, a Burrell traction engine that's had a repaint and a titivate up over the last couple of years. Very nice it is too. Okay, now we have the Garrett Showman's tractor. So we've had a couple of steam tractors in, 3 I think, if not 4. Of course the Showman used them as well. not necessarily with a big ride, but for hauling side stuff or living vans and generating for lighting. This is Princess Mary, worked for George Rogers and Sons, driven today by Jordan Dunford, who luckily today knows where he is. He doesn't have to ring me up and tell me he's 5 minutes from where he wants to be, but won't tell me where he actually is. First timer here at Haddenham, lovely to see it here. Now for a bit of contrast, an engine that's on anything but its first time here at Haddenham. In fact, it's an engine that attended the first rally in 1971. It might even have attended the first rally in 1960. Been owned by the Whaling family since the very early 1960s. It was new to Tucker of Loughborough for the haulage of bricks, so really it's only an old brick wagon. Then it worked for Albert Holland in Showland, and it's now passed to Andrew Whaling, who's I think the 4th generation of Whalings to stand on that little footplate. And he tells me that she's soon off for a birthday. It comes to us all. I hope you get it back quicker than I have.
This was the first rally in Pumfrey after it was put back together, and this is the last rally in Fenland.
There we are. So Andrew says it's the first engine she attended when she was rebuilt, and it's the last rally she's attending before the next rebuild. So we're going to hold Andrew to getting it back here in the next couple of years, whatever happens. Okay, as followed by Mr. Richard Walton with his lovely half-size 6-inch scale Burrell traction engine Harriet. And when we talk about models, we say, oh, there's such and such a scale. For a start, it's all in inches. I don't use any of those funny foreign things. And it's inches to the foot. So 6 inches to the foot, half size, 4 inches, third size, and so on. This is followed by Crazy Days, one of our number 73s in the programme, because we've got 2. But I didn't get caught out today, probably because I'm not looking in the programme. It's owned by the Day family, and lovely to see it here. This is followed by Roger Kitely. He's been coming to Haddenham for many years with various models, all built by himself. This is a lovely Garrett tractor, and you'll see it's fitted with steel strakes on the rear wheels, as an engine like this would have been originally. On the ends of the cab, you'll see it's got the AGE logo. Associated General Engineers was an ill-fated attempt to revitalise the steam traction engine business just as really it was coming to its close, and it was a number of manufacturers that joined together. It didn't work particularly well. Okay, Mr. Peter Bowles with the Wizard now. Scenic Showman's engine. So we've seen ordinary Showman's engines. When the rides got bigger and became electrically powered, the electric demands were too much for the average Showman's engine, so Burrells and other manufacturers overcame that by fitting a second dynamo behind the chimney. Lovely engine with a local connection now, and another one that was built by Roger Kitely, the half-size Foden wagon, finished in the livery of Darby's of Sutton. So we've actually had a special feature of Darby's of Sutton here in the past, a local firm that work with steam, both commercially and in early preservation. Now we have Mr. Ray Cowles with Persevere, another Burrell 4-inch road engine. This is the latest. His previous engine here also, it certainly was yesterday, owned by Mr. Ray Cowles from Cambridge. Mr. Sam Morgan now with Success, very good name for an engine, Success, another Burrell traction engine. And now we have Newman and Plum heavy haulage. Devil's Delight, this engine known as. Nice road engine with an authentic train, traction wagon, living van and water car. And we've got Mr. Ben Tregear with his first model not to be held together with table ties and Bostik. It's the Fowler road engine Kitchener. It's a little light on the front, or I think to put it another way, I think Ben's a little heavy on the back. That's not Darcy who's weighing it down. A nice model of a Fowler road locomotive. Mr. William Honour now with his Burrell, known as Dragon, recently repainted from maroon into green and brown and lined out at home. And then we've got Mr. Hugh Stannard from Rushton with Hagrid, which is a half-size Foden wagon, nice cast wheels and solid rubber tyres. You can really see that the chain drive down to the axle, just like the big brother that came round earlier. And now Kev Thomas with his bright red engine called Bluebell. It's a Dodman built at King's Lynn. There aren't any left. The last one was cut up locally, I believe. Interesting point on that engine is the wooden front axle, which actually is something the full-size engine featured. And Kevin looks after oil boilers for half the board housewives in Essex. And if you run out of oil, if you ply him with tape, he'll come and bleed the boiler for you. Okay, now it's Lewis Hughes, who's had his loose nuts repaired with Tigger, the Fowler Road engine that was recently repainted by the boys at Marston Steam. Done a lovely job on it too. Followed by Jason Trainer with Patrick. Single crank compound road engine come Showman's. In the process, it's in transition, I suppose you could say, but it means he can have the light on at night when he has a beer. So Ray Cowell's first engine, Percy 2 or Percy the 2nd. That one's owned by Claire Rivers. And followed by Edward George, who's been coming to Haddenham for many, many years. His latest model, his latest creation, this beautiful Fowler Tiger tractor. It's its first season in steam. Absolutely beautifully finished. Now I don't know if we've got anybody else coming along, but we'll let these ones join the lineup and then we'll crack on with the rest of our bits and pieces. Okay, we've got some latecomers, and what a surprise. Jack Potter, very competently driving Idris, the Burrell Scenic Showman's in 4-inch scale, that one. Generating quite late opposite the Wonderland organ last night. And then Becky Peggs with her family's road engine Jack. This is the 5th, if not the 6th generation of her family beholding steam. Her granddad John Peggs was always very pleased to tell us that he steered Uncle Bob from Chatteris Rally back to Cottenham in 1965. Okay, number 89 is the lovely Clayton local engine. Well, I suppose probably that's actually the most local engine of the rally now, because I think it's the only engine that actually lives in Haddenham Village, owned by Tony Nightingale. It's a Clayton engine painted in Fletcher brown, single cylinder agricultural, complete with trailer and living van. Okay, so we've got a lovely lineup of engines, full size and miniature here in the arena for you this afternoon. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy the rest of the day, because if you've all gone home having seen something new or interesting or learnt something, it will all have been worthwhile. If you enjoyed it, tell all your friends to come back next year for the 50th Haddenham Rally. Same time, same place. If you didn't enjoy it, keep your mouth shut. We're all good to go for a whistle up, as tradition. So those of you who want to, get your phones ready. Engine drivers, position yourselves by your whistle chains. 3, 2, 1, go! Well, thank you very much, engine drivers. See you all next year. Same time, same place, same sunshine, we hope. I'm losing my voice now, and I've got another 3 days commentary to do next weekend, so I'm going to have to take a vow of silence for the weekdays, which will come as a great relief to everyone concerned, I'm sure. But thank you very much, and engine drivers, make your way please back to your pegs. Do keep an eye out for these engines, ladies and gentlemen, as they're moving through the rally field. They are quite cumbersome and can't necessarily stop on a sixpence. Do go around the field, look at the engines, speak to the owners and drivers. They'll be delighted to answer any question. As I said yesterday, no question too silly. Well, we might say so privately, but most of us wouldn't say it to your face. So we hope you've all enjoyed our Grand Parade of Steam. hopefully Trevor has finished his potato and we'll be back shortly, and we'll crack on with the parade of cars. I've been Michael Pumfrey, I still will be hopefully this time next year, and we'll see you back here again. But until then, take care. Cheers.